So, do you remember the Burning Lands? Yeah, a video that I literally put up a few days ago saying how excited I am for this new FPS. With hell let loose in a sticky situation, and postscriptum being almost non-existent at this point, having a new simulator FPS game was on the cards, and having one in Vietnam at that, I mean, what else could we want? But even in the last few days, I've got egg on my face now because the game has gone down the drain. It is all but pretty much on the verge of collapsing in its entirety, with a Kickstarter raising tens of thousands of dollars starting to be defunded, a developer team stepping down, and the head honcho sending out bigger walls of text than my ex-girlfriend. This is, it's a disaster. What else can I say? The Burning Lands, through its incredible support, has garnered a community that are really interested in what they are creating. From the earlier playtests that have come out, there's been a lot of exciting news, and the gameplay, the most recent, well, I love it. Yeah, as they were heading into the AMA on Discord, releasing some extra information and trying to launch up to more gameplay and alpha stuff coming out, there was a big drop. A bombshell that came out of nowhere. This is from the Burning Lands development team. An announcement saying, "With heavy hearts, please understand that we put a lot of time into this effort. However, we no longer feel like we can continue to work on this game under the current conditions." That is almost one of the biggest bomb drops I've seen in game development, at least of recent years. A massive, massive Kickstarter that has blown past its funding goals hugely, and just a week or so after they released the Kickstarter, this comes out? Well, maybe we can delve a little bit deeper. They started development back in early 2020, and every person in the development team was, at least they thought at the time, had a pivotal role in the project's success. However, over the years, some issues were raised with team members about specific elements of the management direction. This is not necessarily about the game itself, how it's coded, or its gameplay styles. This is because of the structure of the Burning Lands development team, or at least the company, in quotation marks, because we'll get to that in a little bit, that is surrounding it. In the weeks leading up to the launch of the Kickstarter campaign, these ongoing issues finally reached a breaking point. This culminated in a team strike to demonstrate our collective resolve. Instead of delaying the launch and addressing the issues, the Kickstarter proceeded against our wishes. So according to this statement from the development team, this Kickstarter shouldn't have gone out. There was a strike and everybody said they weren't working on it anymore. You know, the people that were going to put this game into the limelight, that would reach a point where the Burning Lands was actually playable, that was no longer happening. The team were already off the board. Yet the Kickstarter that was asking tens of thousands of dollars still went ahead. So why? Because of these strikes, a lot of the team have been removed from the project. Once again, something that you might think, wait, that's illegal. It's not, and we'll get onto that in a little bit, down to the sketchiness of this company. Quotation marks. They've said that there's still not a satisfactory resolve from the structure and management of the game, so the development team are going to carry on their strike thus far. Thank you for your support and faith in our efforts, excitement, so on and so forth. And then it's signed by the whole team. This seems pretty damning. It seems incredibly serious. And for a team that, well, as details came out, weren't exactly being treated properly, it seems like it could be a massive hit to the Burning Lands. It turns out that many of this team were volunteers, not even being paid. Chance, who was the founder / head of 0 Hour, who are making Burning Lands, currently doesn't have a full company set up for 0 Hour Interactive, hence my quotation marks before. I'm assuming, as I don't know how Australian laws work, but from the UK the equivalent would be him working as a sole trader, where he is the company. Every bit of money that comes into his bank accounts from his job is taxed on that. You then expense it through your personal bank accounts. You can use personal bank accounts if you're a sole trader, yet when you start employing people or bringing other people on, that's when you really need to start thinking about a limited company, where you have a business account that is a specific thing, that you can't just take money in and out whenever you feel like it, that is way more regulated, but also adds so many more benefits to you and the employees, with security across the board. If a sole trader upsets someone, they can personally be sued. Somebody can come and take all their personal assets, coming even down to their house, their car, everything within it. Thus, having a limited company means that only the stuff within the company's name can be taken in such issues. But that never happened. Chance decided to bring on these developers as volunteers, or I'm assuming contractors, to himself, not a full setup company. Now, why that didn't happen, I don't know. Apparently it just takes a while in Australia, yet that's not really an excuse. Like, don't even start this sort of thing unless you are secured, especially if you are then launching a Kickstarter, raising tens of thousands of pounds of money that is personally going to Chance. Now, it sounds like he's doing kind of the right things with the money. It's a bit obscure and a little bit fishy, but I'm not saying that he is a fraudulent mastermind that is scamming everybody. It seems that that money from the Kickstarter had the full intentions to go in towards the game and nothing but the game. Yet it isn't a good look, and it's something that really should have been protected and thought about before any of this started. Now, apparently this whole strike isn't about the developers not being paid properly, or at least they've not explicitly said that, because they came on board as volunteers, or some of them came on board as contractors to do specific things for a certain amount of times. Now, it might well be that many of these developers who were modders for a game like Squad did expect this game to be done sooner, thus agreed to something like a revenue share from the release. Yet as most game developments happen, it took way longer and was way more expensive, so those deals could have crumbled. And without proper contracts or proper payee resources, i.e. being an employee of a company, there was nothing they could really do about that in the eyes of the law. It kind of just had to be a handshake, or at least this is my speculation. So after all this, what happened? Well, there was a huge Ask Me Anything on the Discord. This was going ahead anyway. The Burning Lands were going to bring and show up some more information. Yet now there were two separate Ask Me Anythings. One's for the development team and one's for Chance, the face of this company. In that, it became very clear to the community that this was not going to work out, that these two parties were not going to come to some clear conclusion, and the game, most likely, was going to be halted for the foreseeable. Thus, the Kickstarter started draining. I have never seen a Kickstarter be defunded so quickly. People trying to pull out their money, and yet it's still up. It's still public. If you wanted to, you could still put money into the Burning Lands. So unless you are involved within this community, if you've been following it on their Discord or the YouTube videos that have come out, you could still be looking at this title thinking, this is a cool game. Oh, it's being funded a lot recently. I want to put money into this, because you can, without knowing that the game is pretty much dead in the water, at least for now. So we've heard the side of the development team. They've mentioned that they feel like they're not being treated properly, and that there's a structure to the management that needs to be sorted, that Chance isn't sorting. But as with everything, there are two sides to the story. So let's hear what Chance has to say. He actually released a statement just a few minutes ago to when I'm recording this. I will not stand idly by, and I find it ridiculous to have to counter this misinformation and address attempts to derail the company and project funding, which at the time of this message has resulted in a 35% loss of potential funds. Now, in any other case, that would be a disaster, and don't get me wrong, it is. But if you'd actually made a company, mate, you could have protected yourself against that. Fortunately, for the development team, I guess, they weren't really tied into anything, so they can say what they want without really any repercussions other than being told they can't work on it anymore. But that's aside. It's the community's decision whether they want to fund your game or whether they want to not fund it. I don't think there's any one sole person that is to blame for this entire situation. But the reality of it, 5 hours before the Kickstarter went live, the demands of the development team were made. So what was really going on? What did they really want? They wanted Chance to step down as director. He says he's the company owner. Yet through the grapevines, I've heard all that other stuff about it not truly being a proper company yet. They want him to step down as the project lead and bring on a board of directors. Now, this is something that really hit me. Why is there not a board of directors already? This should be the first thing you do when you're making a game like this, especially one that is so revolved around an already established community, a modding team that are doing a lot of volunteering and things for free, and even the ones that are on as contractors. There should be multiple people that can come together with some sort of vested interest for the game to do well in everybody's eyes. Why is this just one person sitting at the top? They also wanted him to take up a standard level design role, that just sounds like they don't think he's doing enough, and ensure financial transparency. And this is where it comes in about the company. He says in brackets that is in progress pending an Australian business Combiz account. And as far as I'm aware, Combiz is just the name of an Australian bank. So what he's saying is they don't have a business bank account yet.
What?
The statement goes on to say, 2 hours later, I responded to the demands, but they were ignored. Why did I still go live? We were ready, and I trusted that we could address the issues before the campaign's end. Now, unfortunately, as much as that might make sense on the surface, it really is just an irresponsible thing to do. I have no vested interest in this game whatsoever. In fact, I just make videos, guys. But on a logical perspective, if you don't know that your development team is going to carry on with this game, even if you think that they're just sort of making a bit of a fuss, don't start then asking for tens of thousands of dollars. Is that not just complete logic? I mean, you don't even know if you've got a product here. This is one of the most irresponsible things that you could do, to carry on asking the community, because now you have drawn in other people that aren't contractually obliged to you, that don't have spare cash lying around but are passionate about your product. Now you've drawn them into this. And now they're the ones that are going to suffer, especially if they don't see what all this drama is going on. And it actually doesn't matter to me what side is in the right here. It matters that the community do not get put at risk for this. The people that are giving you their money, you should have full responsibility in making sure you are as watertight as possible before you even ask. He does say that he responded to the demands, but they were ignored. Now, obviously, I cannot read minds or go into the past, yet that doesn't give any details of how you responded, because that's the important thing. You can say you responded, but that could just mean you saying, fuck off. And how is that going to help? I'm not saying that's what Chance did, but I think more context really is needed for anyone to take that point seriously. On the 28th, a scheduled call at 11 AM on the following day was ignored. The same happened on the 29th and the 30th. He then gave them a deadline and there was a call. Various topics were discussed, and at the end, he asked some questions. He asked if the request was financially driven or just to have a voice in the direction of the company. The developers said that there was no financial interest. They just wanted details about the board of directors. That seems like a fairly sensible thing to want. And as much as the developers are saying they don't want any financial interest, if I'm going to be honest, they probably should. I think it's such a dodgy thing to ask people to work for free unless they're mates, or you know that this is a very small time thing and everybody is very much an equal to it. But asking people to work for free or for less money or little money is so risky, because at the start people are always passionate about your project and they'll say, yeah, sure, I'll do this for free. But as soon as it starts to get tricky and there's issues that come up, then people are like, well, why should I help you with that? You're not paying for me. Even if they agreed to it at the start, things can change. And that's why you need to be so secure. Having businesses set up, having people in contracts or work as employees, or at least if they're going to work as a contractor, make sure they're in a set contract and with a clear statement that everybody agrees to from the get-go that doesn't change without consultation. Chance goes on to say that one of the main things that he doesn't want to give them is a board of directors. Yet I think this is probably one of the easiest things. If it was a financial situation, I would get why there'd be sticking points, because that's people's livelihoods. But just making a board of directors to have discussions about where the game's going, to change leadership around and having a bit more of a fair structure in terms of the ideas put into the game, that costs you nothing. It really doesn't. That just comes down to ego. I don't know on whose part yet, but these are non-issues for most people that can see that the project is the main responsibility and not the title that they have next to their name. Because Chance, at least from what I'm reading, has got the wrong idea about this. Mate, people don't care who the lead developer is. They don't care is the director. They don't even care the names of people on the development team. Of course, that is an incredibly blunt way of putting it, and anyone that puts their time and passion into this is great for doing so. But the people that gave you money do not care who you are. They're giving you money because they like your idea. They like the game. You are not the face of this. The Burning Lands is the face of this. So it is your responsibility, if you're taking money, to do whatever you can to make this work and not let ego get in the way. It just seems like such a cut and dry thing that doesn't make any sense to me, unless you just have too much pride to let things go, and because a title in front of your name is worth more than taking tens of thousands of dollars for a game that doesn't look like it's happening anymore. Chance goes on to say that he's left the door open for discussions, tried to make some attempts to reach out, and as much as I've criticised this statement, that is the face of it. There just needs to be more discussion. But if I'm going to be honest, from the way that this comes across in the statement, it sounds like Chance is someone that is not that ideal for discussions. You can say you want them as much as you like to the public, but when you get into that room and have those chats, it doesn't sound like you're coming to any sort of agreement. From what the developers are asking, it's nothing horrific. It's almost logical things that should have been in place from the start, other than asking you to step down as director. But if the majority of people don't think you're doing a good job, you're probably not doing a good job, mate. It's one versus a whole team. Surely you can have some sort of self-awareness here. And as much as I'm someone that doesn't know the ins and outs of everything that's gone on behind the scenes, I think in the most part, if the team that has been doing most of the work are asking you to do something like a standard level design role, indicating that you're not putting in the effort that they would like to see, and then asking you to step down, maybe you should take a look at what's been going on. And now I'm going to add a little bit of my personal experience. I have not known about this game for all that long, and the most I've seen is talking to Alpine Sniper about his gameplay and watching a lot of it and a lot of the gameplay and information that's come out. Yet, a few days ago, after I released my last Burning Lands video, Chance, the director of Burning Lands, sent me a message. He said, "Hey mate, I saw your video. Would you be interested in purchasing a PKS, a pre-Kickstarter? We have a session tomorrow and you can join the playtest." Now at first when I read this, I sort of just skimmed by it as someone that's been making YouTube videos for 8 years and stuff like that, and my main channel that has 170,000 subscribers and stuff like that. The deal is we make videos on games, and then if the developers want to, they can send us keys and we get into games early and stuff like that. And as much as it's completely their choice whether they want to do that or not, that's fine. If someone doesn't want to send me a key for their game, I totally understand. Yet I've never had someone come into my personal DMs pitching me to buy into their playtest for 100 Australian dollars. That's about 65 US dollars. I'm sorry, I misread this at first. I genuinely thought that he was offering to get me into the playtest so I could record some footage. But my last video has almost 50,000 views, which for the second channel is quite good. But that's 50,000 cases of free advertising. And to give you guys a little bit behind the scenes, on my main channel, if I pitch to a company, I'll give you 50,000 views of an integration. For example, let's say a Raid Shadow Legends, that will probably be about $900 they would pay me to put in my video. So if we're going off that, which of course changes and is kind of a little bit of a weak number, my video gave the Burning Lands about $900 to $1,000 of free advertising. Yet he then comes into my DMs asking me to buy the game so I could record more on it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I deserve a free key or to get in early. That's not what I want at all. It would be great, but if they don't want to do that, sure, that's absolutely fine. I'll still make videos on their game from afar, but still asking to pitch it and then sending a follow-up when I didn't reply saying, "Not sure if you saw this, do you want to buy it?" It's just weird. And it does seem like someone who's a little bit out of touch with the reality of forming a company or making a business. I don't know, that is definitely just personal conjecture and take what you want from that, but I just thought it kind of speaks a lot to the character of this guy. Trying to sell copies to YouTubers to get them to make more free advertising. It just doesn't make sense whatsoever. But hey, that's what's been going on with the Burning Lands. If I was you, I would be very careful. Personally, I'm not going to support them anymore until we get some sort of conclusion to this. I might give you guys updates, but never in it will I speak highly enough to get people to pledge anymore to the Kickstarter. Do not do any of that at the moment until we see what comes out of this, because my God, this is a disaster. I really hope it gets sorted. I really hope we get the game, but it's not looking like it. It really isn't.